right. Well, happy Selection Sunday, everyone. Thank you for joining. The Irish Hammer here alongside the guru of bracketology. That would be none other than Hunter Sansom of Sansom Sports Media. Hunter, it is always a thrill to have you on the show. And I know it's been very busy for you the past couple days. 48 hours has probably flown by. Probably lots of Red Bulls and candy bars. I don't know. You probably eat better than that. But in any event, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy weekend to join us here. Again, welcome and good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's honestly the last week and a half have just been absolute chaos for me, but had to make sure I made time for the people who have had me on and want to consistently interact. So happy to be here and happy that Selection Sunday's behind us, even though it is a little bittersweet.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like Christmas morning, right? You've got all the build up, the excitement. You get to open the presents, and now you got to wait for the batteries, and they won't be here for 4 days, right?
Exactly right. Yeah,
we do get a couple games before that, the playing games and all. But it's always a thrill to have you here. And in case you missed it earlier, the Heavy Pour Sports team with Rando, T-Step, Selena, Coach Evans was kind enough to come on and spend some time with us as well. Made the announcement. I'll go ahead and make it again in case you didn't see that. The Dropping the Hammer podcast has officially partnered with and is a full-fledged member now of the Heavy Pour Sports Network. I'm thrilled to be with these guys. It's been a long time coming. We debated and talked about how we wanted to do this and make that transition. And I said, and I told Hunter this off the air, so I'm not just saying this because he's here. I put all my chips in on the table. As I know, I said, I know I can get Hunter on, so let's do it Selection Sunday, make it official. So if you caught the intro, that's what that was all about. So Hunter, we've basically quadrupled our viewership to get you out amongst the masses. So I couldn't and wouldn't
appreciate it.
A better person to be on the maiden voyage of the new what will be known as Heavy Pour Sports Tennessee. More exciting things to come with that down the road.
Nice. I like it.
Thank you. For now, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the bracketology guru. Hunter, I retweeted this out, and I don't have specific numbers in front of me, but I know you do.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how your projections rolled out, because I've really been paying attention to yours compared to what some other folks have saying, and I'm like, no, Hunter's got it, man. Hunter's nailed this. he is on it. Just tell us how it turned out as far as your bracket compared to the actual bracket, and give us some of those numbers that are mind-blowingly impressive. Everybody listen up.
I appreciate first U.S. home run. Gunnar Henderson just tied it up 1-1. Just want to throw that out there if anybody's watching. But with that, I ended up getting 58 out of 68 teams exactly correct. 68 out of 68 selected. I did have Texas in over Auburn or SMU over Auburn. So really happy with how it turned out. This year was really difficult. My Paymon score, for those of you who know what that is, it's how bracketologists score themselves, was 388. The highest you can get is 408. My personal best had been right around 350, 355. So it's a significant jump for me this year. I've put on a lot of hard work. So happy to see it pay off a little bit, but just happy we can continue to talk sports and kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And in case you missed that, Hunter got 58 of the 68 teams 100% correct, seed line, everything, and 68 out of 68 teams in the tournament. And dude, that is amazing work. And I know how much time and energy and effort that you put in to your craft and the content that you put out for everyone. And so hopefully everybody will the numbers speak for themselves. But I'm going to drive it home. If you aren't following Hunter and you like college basketball, there's something wrong. So right now, stop what you're doing other than watching this video or this live stream and go follow Hunter. It's fantastic content. He's got a website. the Twitter account, and it's just phenomenal content, and his insight is tremendous. And it's been a thrill all season to because I get educated, man, listening to your stuff for real.
Appreciate it. Yeah, good.
Because I'm more of a football guy, but I love college basketball. But you've really opened the doors for me to some of the stuff that you do, and it's tremendous, man. So everybody, please, by all means, make sure you're following Hunter at Bracket NKY on Twitter. So all right, well, let's get into it. So we've got our full bracket now.
Yep.
Any surprises with the 1 seeds? Because I know coming into the weekend there was still some, I won't say some contention, but there were still some question marks on that last number 1 seed. And I've been on Florida for a few weeks now to get it. And they do get put in there. So what do you think was the difference for them bringing that home versus either UConn or even Purdue at this point after they won the Big Ten? So how do you feel they got that, and Florida getting in? What was the determining factor for that?
So I think Florida, I mean, coming into the week, like you said, Florida was clearly kind of that number 1 seed, but then they lost to Vanderbilt by a blowout yesterday.
Yeah.
Houston and UConn had that door open just briefly. If Florida would have won all the way to the SEC championship, it was theirs regardless of any other results. But with Florida kind of losing and not looking great on Saturday, it left the door open. But Houston and UConn both lost, so then we ended up right back at Florida, and here we are. The predictive metrics were just too strong, and the overall body of work. The SEC is just so deep, it helps. But Florida just had too much on that resume to get them off the 1 line.
Yeah, I would agree, and I thought I certainly didn't expect Peabody to be the team to knock Florida out of the SEC.
Right.
Championship. That was a bit of a surprise. They clearly played way over their heads, in my opinion, because that front court is still. I still think you've got to think Florida's got a more than a puncher's chance of repeating.
Oh, absolutely.
As difficult as it is, that front court is just fantastic, and I think their guard play is good enough to get them through. There are better guards in this tournament.
Absolutely.
And they may even face better guards. We'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
But from a front court perspective, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better front court than what the Florida Gators have.
I don't think you will. Yeah, I think it's Florida's front court's the best in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to see if I can talk through this. I would pull it up, but most people probably watch this on their phones, and I can't even hardly see it on the computer. So we're not even going to bother.
I did a podcast a little bit ago right after the bracket, and I put it up on my screen, and I couldn't even read it. So then I ended up screenshotting it. It was a whole thing. So no worries there at all.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of talk through it. So we'll start in the East with Duke getting the number 1 overall seed. Even with the injury, do you think that any surprise there? I mean, Duke has done enough even with the injury.
And this weekend they looked great.
There.
Yeah, I mean, had they come out laid an egg game 1 to Florida State or something, sure, maybe I would have said something. But they got past Florida State. They looked a lot better the last 2 games. They deserve that number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And the win over Michigan was probably, a huge feather in their cap. Even with Michigan losing today, that's probably the most impressive win, other than maybe I forgot who beat Florida at home.
Auburn.
Auburn, thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Dang. We see Auburn's not in the tournament, thank goodness.
Exactly. So you're forgetting about them.
Forgot about them already.
Exactly.
So in that field, just kind of cover the top. Let's do the top 5 seeds. So we've got Duke at 1, UConn at 2, where we thought they would be on the 2 line. The 3rd seed is Michigan State. 4th seed is Kansas. The 5th seed is St. John's. And I actually thought St. John's might get that spot over Kansas, which I guess ultimately it's not really going to matter because I feel like both these teams are going to beat their opponent in the first round. They can settle it on the court the way the good Lord intended.
Exactly.
So potentially we could be looking at Duke playing either St. John's or Kansas in the Sweet 16. Do you have a thought with that piece of the bracket?
I mean, Kansas and St. John's, like you mentioned, it's flip one way or another. I'm assuming, I haven't looked at the full seed list yet, but I would assume they were 4 and 5, like back to back there on the back end and front end.
That is correct. Yeah.
Perfect. And the only one thing I do want to call out here, Michigan State falling to a 3. They were a 2 seed coming into today. The committee actually, for once, paid attention. We'll get to Arkansas in a minute, but they paid attention to these results today, which really impressed and really good job for that. Did want to call that out. However, St. John's and UConn should not be in the same region. I'm really surprised that they put them both there as a 2 and a 5. They should be in separate areas. Committee, it makes mistakes. They're humans. It is what it is. But looking at this, I think Duke will play St. John's probably in the Sweet 16. I'm not as sold on a Kansas squad who just, you never know what you're going to get with them. You don't know who's going to play. You don't know what their chemistry is going to be like. I'm fading Kansas just a little bit, but it wouldn't shock me at all if they're healthy, if they would beat St. John's. On that bottom side, Louisville and South Florida is going to be a really fun matchup. I know we didn't talk about either of those, but did want to call that out. That is a very possible 11-6 upset there. South Florida's playing really good, not going to be necessarily known about. But I think you'll see UConn kind of advance out. We could get a Cronin and Hurley hothead matchup there in the second round. That could be really fun. But yeah, I think Michigan State's probably my pick to come out and play UConn in the Sweet 16. I know it's chalky, but these top teams are just so good this year. So give me Duke and UConn to play. And honestly, with the injuries that Duke has, I'm not sure who wins that game.
Yeah. In fact, there's albeit somewhat small and a little bit quiet at the moment. This may grow or change, but I'm already hearing some rumblings that some folks think St. John's could give Duke an exit. How do you feel about that matchup?
So with St. John's, I just struggle because they're so hot and cold from 3. It's when you're a team like that that's going to be playing a team clearly better than you, it's just difficult to see them overcoming that, especially with Cam Boozer. I think he can kind of lock up Zuby and everybody and make it okay. But you never know what'll happen. That's why you got to play the games.
That's it. 100%. Clearly, they're not the same team without Caleb on the floor, but I think this team is good enough, deep enough that they can easily be in the Final Four.
Absolutely.
There's the 6-11 matchup is always fun. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, that is the most upset seed pairing in the tournament.
It's the only
50% of the time.
Yeah, it's the only lower seed that actually has a winning record in the last 10 years or so. And a lot of the times your 6 seeds are teams that are kind of reeling a little bit, maybe not playing their best basketball, while 11s, they're peaking. I mean, you have Texas, North Carolina State, we're going to get to. Like a lot of these teams just kind of scraped into the tournament. They're going to get an extra game. However, South Florida is not like that. They're peaking. They've won a lot recently. They are playing really good basketball right now. So they could absolutely give an unhealthy Louisville a run for their money.
Yeah, and I think Mikael Brown doesn't play in that game, then I think South Florida, I won't say easily, nothing's easy this time of year, but I think they can win a convincing game over Louisville there.
Absolutely.
The other one that kind of got my attention, because that's one of my upsets, is South Florida. Another one that's going to be very interesting, I think, based on how both teams have come into this, is Central Florida and UCLA, the 7-10 in the East. Should UCLA and the Mick Cronin crew be on upset alert here?
I mean, upset alert, yes, but I mean, UCLA has been playing solid, kind of coming in. I know there's been up and down throughout the year, but UCF is just so home run or bust. I mean, they're going to go out and beat Kansas one day, lose to somebody awful the next day. So it depends on which version of UCF shows up, but they can be so dangerous just because you don't know what you're going to get with them.
Yeah, no, I agree, because UCLA, they played well enough down the stretch that I threw a little $5 plus 4,000 odd bet on them to win the Big Ten, and of course they broke my heart.
Of course.
But yeah, they I won't say they're underseeded. I think they probably, based on where the rest of the field fell, is probably right, but they've played better than a 7 seed at times this season.
Absolutely.
So I think UCF, as hot as they have been, I think they're going to have to play one of their better games, and a lot of things are going to have to go right for them to knock off UCLA.
Exactly.
And then I don't think it matters the next game anyway, because I think Dan Hurley and company are on an absolute mission with with what's happened to them down the stretch. Yes. So very good. So we'll come back to Elite Eight Final Fours. Let's go through the next region, which would be the West region. And no surprise, Arizona getting the top seed there. Purdue jumped up to 2. I thought they would be at 3. I guess the win was impressive enough for the committee to put them at a 2. So be it, whatever. Then Gonzaga is the 3 seed there, followed by Arkansas at 4, Wisconsin in 5. And I'm just going to throw it in there because we talked about this 6-11 matchup being intriguing. Yeah. It's BYU versus whoever wins that play-in game.
Yeah.
So talk to me about this bracket. What should we expect? And are there any upsets that you think could be on the horizon for this group?
So, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with Arizona being like expected to be that 1 seed. They are the 2nd overall seed. They jumped Michigan today. Again, I just want to stress the committee does not normally do this. So I just really wanted to give them some credit for once. Normally I have a 45-minute to an hour long podcast where I just bash the committee. Haven't had to have that this year because they did well. Somebody put in the chat, Wisconsin being a sleeper. Wisconsin, though I don't know that they can give Arizona a run for their money. I do like Wisconsin, but again, not in this bracket here. I think Arizona is just too good. Purdue intrigues me, especially if they play like they did today. However, we've seen Purdue lose by 20 at home, but then we see them beat Michigan on a neutral site. So I don't know what to expect from the Boilers, but I do think they could give Arizona a run for their money. Arizona seems like the clear favorite here, and I don't know that it's necessarily close at this point. This feels like the region I'm most likely to pick the 1 seed to come out of.
Yeah, I agree. I think Arizona is probably going to go very far in this tournament. We'll leave it at that for now. And I apologize. I just because I was doing some behind the scenes stuff here, I just flipped over on comments. I apologize, Joshy boy. Hello, thank you. I appreciate it. Vol Truther, Josh, also thank you. I appreciate you, buddy. And thank you. I'm glad to be part of officially part of the Heavy Pour Sports crew. Arizona's kind of been, for me, they've kind of been that team all season long. Like they've been so consistent.
Exactly.
Their metrics are, outstanding. They are top 5 in offensive efficiency, top 3 in defensive efficiency. Their overall rating is top 10. I mean, there's as solid of a team in this field as I think there is, and I think they can match up well with anybody.
Agreed.
In this tournament. So, yeah, I'm a little biased against Purdue, obviously, because we've had our issues with them in multiple sports over the years. But I said this on the earlier show. I'm going to say it again. Get your thoughts. I think Purdue today might have been kind of their apex, kind of their pinnacle. I think this may be the best basketball we'll see out of Purdue from this point going forward. I think there's some teams in this bracket that can give them problems. And as good as Braden Smith has played and on the verge, and he'll easily get this, the record for assists, which is, hats off. The guy's, played a lot of basketball and is fantastic, no doubt. But they're not consistent enough. And I think there's some teams on here that can muddle up what they like to do, get their big ugly in foul trouble and cause them some problems. So I'm not quite as high on them as probably some people. I think Clark Kellogg even picked them to win the national championship.
If they play like they did today, sure. But I don't see them playing like they did today 8 more games in a row or 7 more games, whatever they end up being. Sorry, math is hard. I could see Missouri, honestly, if Missouri beats Miami of Florida, I could see Missouri giving Purdue quite the game.
Yeah, just style of play. I mean, this is the time of year where styles make fights, and some of the metrics obviously matter, but some of them may not matter.
Yeah. What matters more is imposing kind of like your will is what I was going to say.
That's exactly right. You have things like controlling tempo. If you don't guard the perimeter well, we've seen, not to throw salt in the wound, but we've seen Oakland come out and shoot the lights out against Kentucky. We've seen St. Peter's come out and that was Kentucky too, wasn't it?
That was Kentucky too. You're doing great.
Brando's going to kill me. He's like, dang it, that first day on the job, and he's already giving us crap. So But yeah, styles make fights. So you may run into a buzzsaw like Tennessee did a few years ago with Loyola, Chicago. So this is why we do this, right? This is why we have these big mix-ups and playing people you never seen, probably never will see again.
Yeah.
I think Arizona's probably the clear favorite here, and rightfully so. I'm not sold on Gonzaga as
I'm
a
not
3.
either. Yeah.
I think they can get got, is how the saying goes. Arkansas at 4, I think probably can get through anybody in their path until they run into Arizona. Another game here that's interesting, and I know a lot of people are kind of high on Wisconsin, but is this High Point team, is this going to be a matchup problem for them with their shooting?
So the only issue that I run into with that one is they both like to score the ball. So who can do it better? And I think Wisconsin, just having the better athletes and just unfortunately just being the power conference, having the little bit better athletes will be in a better spot. But it's absolutely a matchup problem, especially if Wisconsin would be cold. That game's probably like first to 90 wins or something like that.
I think so too. I think this is I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds in this because I'll be stealing some of Joshy Boy's thunder for Tuesday, but this one is a dead over for me. There is going to be a ton of points because both teams can shoot.
Exactly.
And neither team plays defense particularly well. So I think it's going to be as maybe simply as who makes shots in this game. And you're right. I think the race to whether it's 85, 90, whatever the magic number is, I think who gets there first probably wins this game. So I'm with you. I lean Wisconsin. It's very difficult to bet against a good Power 4 team against anybody in the mid-major simply because of the disparity between athletic ability and quality of recruit. I mean, let's just be honest.
Exactly. And if you're
NIL has created this.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
No, just NIL's created this, and it makes it hard-pressed for Cinderellas to have more than a puncher's chance.
Yes.
So
I was going to say with the portal and everything, it makes it difficult. But also, just if you're going to do it, you want to look at FDU and Purdue years ago. It was contrasting styles that they were able to pull the upset, not necessarily similar styles. You're not going to beat these teams at their game. You've got to beat them in a different game. So that's why I have a hard time picking High Point over Wisconsin. But now that I've said that, High Point's going to win. So sorry for jinxing Wisconsin.
All right, let me make a note and make sure I play that correctly there. The other game that's going to be interesting is BYU, because here we've got, one of the most talented freshmen in the country in Debansa, and BYU plays pretty difficult conference. I mean, it'd be hard to argue anybody better than the Big 12 top to bottom.
Yes.
I think a lot of people probably expected them to be a higher seed coming into this. Maybe not recently, but leading up to the last month
into
of the
year, I expected them, to be much higher than this. It's been disappointing to say the least.
So what do you think? What's going to be their ceiling? Because I know it's going to be a team that is talked about quite a bit. I'm already hearing people thinking BYU can beat Gonzaga. So what are your thoughts here?
BYU can beat Gonzaga. If you want to go just who's going to have the best player on the court, Devanza is going to be exactly that.
Yeah.
I think Gonzaga and mostly Mark Few can just scheme around Devanza and make somebody else beat them. So, Gonzaga's favored, but I think Gonzaga could get upset by BYU. That being said, I don't know that BYU is going to get out of the first game.
I agree.
I know I just picked South Florida and Louisville. I'll do it again here. If it's NC State can put up ridiculous numbers. Now, if it's Texas, I think it's a little bit more of a grind. I would lean BYU at that point. But NC State can get hot from deep. They're going to have that game under their belt in Dayton, and I wouldn't be shocked if NC State beats BYU.
Yeah, I agree with that. Should BYU make it and would have to face Gonzaga, one thing about Gonzaga, defensively, they are very good.
Yes.
And they can generate enough offense to make that defense make you pay.
Exactly.
So I think BYU would have issues with Gonzaga. And, I mean, Mark Few's just a better coach if we just want to come down to it.
Very true.
Very tournament experienced. And, and these guys definitely want to, want to make a run here because they've had some of their players have been there like 12 years. So,
Exactly.
This is it. Gigs up. It's now or never. So, yeah, and I agree with you. I think NC State gets Texas, and I think NC State can get BYU.
Yep.
They're sneaky good. They've won some big games this year. And granted, the ACC has not been the strength of conference that we've seen certainly over the years. A little down this year, but that's still a really good team.
And it was the ACC was improved over last year as well, so it's at least tough this year as opposed to last year.
Yeah, it's definitely better than last year. Holy cow! But still not that same level of depth that we're used to seeing from them. But keeping it in the ACC, that Miami-Missouri game is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned you like Missouri there. I'm kind of leaning Miami in that because I think they're playing really good ball right now. If depending on who wins that game, who do you think would pose the more difficult matchup for Purdue and what we could all hope for as an upset?
I would say Missouri's the worst matchup for Purdue. So going to give them a better game. Mizzou's just shown the ability to do that this year, where Miami hasn't necessarily shown they're going to beat those elite teams. So I think Missouri would be my pick.
Okay. Yeah. Missouri, they've been scrappy. And hung around in some games that they probably shouldn't have this year. But that was a coin flip for me. That's one of the few I just don't have a good feel for and not sure which direction I want to go. With that, I can make an argument probably for both. But I think the SEC is deeper than the ACC this year and much more difficult schedule that Missouri's played. So I would kind of tend to agree with that. We'll see what the gut says come
Wednesday night.
Come Wednesday night, yeah, because that'll be when I put the brackets in. I'm sure. All right. So, anything else out of the West that you like, don't like, are concerned, intrigued? Anything there?
If we get to Arkansas and Wisconsin, I think that'll be a really, really fun matchup, and that's one of the ones I've had circled for the second round. So I do hope we get to see that.
Yeah, I do too, and I think we will.
I agree.
I just think like you said, I think Wisconsin can win that game late, but I think High Point will keep it very interesting up until the end.
Yeah.
With Arkansas, should they advance? Should they get to the Sweet 16? Can they play with Arizona?
Anytime you have a guard like Acuff, you're going to be in games. It's the same thing with Debanza at BYU. Anytime you have somebody that's that good, yes. But, I mean, can Tommy Lloyd outcoach Cal? I mean, it's going to come down to who can coach, which supporting players can play a little bit better. Arizona's a little bit deeper of a team for me, and I think that they would pull that out, but that would be a very, very high-level game.
Yeah, I think so too. That's kind of one of those that I kind of got circled hoping that we see because I think that will be a very good game. I still lean Arizona there. But Acuff's special, man. He's just different. He's definitely reminds you of an old school Kentucky one and done Coach Cal guard.
Yes, this team reminds me very much of those teams that UK had a lot of success with. I've said that since November. This team is what Calipari's recipe for success is.
Yeah, 100%. So I think, not calling for an upset here, but I think that will be a phenomenal game and a good challenge for Arizona to face a guard of that level, because I don't know that they've seen a whole lot of that in in the season. So, all right, so we'll slide down to the South, where Florida has chomped down on the first seed. In light of losing to Peabody, they still hold on. And I think that's the right thing. Not really much to gain by them, winning that game. And I don't say they mailed it in, but I don't think it became as important to them down the stretch as it was for the Nerds. Yeah. So
Florida, I think I won't say that they just threw the towels in, because again, they didn't, but I do think they took their foot off the gas. They quit trying to come back and just kind of coasted towards the end, tried to make sure they stayed healthy, which is number one priority. The SEC championship's cool. Yeah, it'd be cool to put that trophy in there, but Florida wants a repeat. They don't care about the SEC championship.
100%. Yeah. So this region was the one I think certainly was brought into discussion between the Kentucky and Tennessee contingent on the show earlier, that this was kind of the region we both had sort of hoped to fall into.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out. So Houston is the 2 seed in the South, and then we've got Illinois at 3. We have Nebraska at 4, and the aforementioned Peabody, Vanderbilt, is at the 5. The 6-11 game here is North Carolina and VCU, and I have already put VCU in to move on and face Illinois in the second round. Thanks for coming, North Carolina. Pick up your "We Suck Again" T-shirt on your way out.
I disagree.
Okay.
Despite VCU, I feel like they are a little bit underseeded. I do feel like they earned a little bit better, but I think North Carolina is better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. And even without Wilson, that's obviously going to kill their ceiling. I do think they're better than VCU.
I don't disagree that they're better. I just think VCU they're that team they're cooking and they're rising. And I think they could – I think they've got some confidence going into this thing. That's and, fair. You know, a normal, typical North Carolina team, even with this record and this seed, I would say, people are sleeping on Carolina. I think VCU's got a shot to get them.
They definitely have a shot. I don't know. Everybody's picking VCU. I've seen it all over everything since the bracket came out. It just feels like one of those that we're all going to lure ourselves into the 11-6 upsets. And I just picked 2 in the first 2 regions. So I'll take it straight up this time.
Okay. I'm going to make a note of that. Now you're going to make me think about it some. It was definitely knee jerk. So, okay.
Fine. Little reaction here, or not reaction, disclaimer. I'm really decent at putting teams into the field. However, I am not nearly as good at once we get to the bracket. Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of what goes into the bracket also reflects in the betting odds and the betting market. So it's not totally, mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the odds, you look at the seeding, it kind of pairs up pretty closely. So
fair enough.
If you feel like North Carolina belongs where they are and that they're a better team than their opponent, then I've got to give that some merit. So that's why you're here, man. I'm really trying to just pick your brain and see what I need to pick for my bracket.
Makes sense.
My kind of sleeper team in this group, even though I do think Florida is probably I think they've got a pretty decent path to get to the Final Four.
Agreed.
The only team I really see being a problem would be Illinois. And I know guard play is critical. Yeah. And I know we had our problems with Houston last year, and they made their run to the championship game last year. And Emmanuel Sharp has played a lot of basketball. There's a lot of miles in that beard.
Yeah.
But I just think Illinois is a better team right now than Houston. Houston's for me, they're a little too erratic. Now, they can muddle up a game with the best of them. And if Sharp and the other kid, what's his name?
Fleming.
Fleming, thank you. Kingston. I was trying to say Kingston is his last name. That's why I couldn't get it. Yeah. He and Fleming are a phenomenal pair.
Absolutely.
I just think Illinois is probably going to be the one for me that sees Vanderbilt in the Elite Eight. What do you see in this region? Does anybody else?
Hold on, did you just say Vanderbilt's in the Elite Eight? Did you just
No. Illinois.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I would love to see McNeese beat them. What are you talking about?
I swear you just said Vanderbilt in the Elite Eight. We'll have to roll it back and look at that in a little bit.
Oh Lord, I hope you're wrong.
I was like, that's picking Vandy to beat Florida.
No, that ain't happening.
Back to Illinois. I'm going to take Houston. I think, like you said, guard play is important. I will take Houston's guards, Fleming and Sharp especially, just to muddy up the game, like you said, and take care of business. I'm not super sold on Illinois. Haven't been all year, even though their metrics and everything say they're good. Just feel like they're the kind of team that could get upset. And Houston, I have learned to not bet against Sansom in the tournament. It hurts me every year.
Yeah, it kind of got me last year too, and that's the one piece of it that I was thinking about, even walking up the stairs when I was going through the ones that I felt fairly strongly about is Kelvin Sampson. Tournament Kelvin Sampson is different than regular season,
Absolutely.
He's just one of those guys. He's like, he's like just one of those, like a Cal or a Mark Few or a Dan Hurley. He's just one of those guys, Bill Self, just one of those guys that just has a different gear.
Exactly.
When he gets to the tournament, and he just knows how to win, man. He knows how to win in this setting. So
I agree.
The other potential Sweet 16 matchup, I think is it Sweet 16? No, it's the second week. Our second game is going to be Vanderbilt and Nebraska. Should Nebraska get past Troy, who's pretty good. I still think Nebraska's got that.
Agreed.
Has got the edge there. What does that game look like for you?
Vandy and Nebraska would be really fun. I think it'd be pretty high scoring. I would expect a lot of 3-point shots, a lot of finishing at the rim. I don't know, and if Nebraska doesn't win this year, they really need to just consider not ever trying to go to the tournament ever again. But this one's a toss-up. I really want to see it, kind of like the Wisconsin-Arkansas game up there. This would be really, really fun. High-level basketball. Vandy's playing really good, though, and I know you're not going to like it, but I'm probably going to pick them to beat Nebraska and get out there to play Florida in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I think there's part of me that wants to see that. There's part of me that wants to see them go home day one, okay?
Fair.
There's another part of me that wants to see them get through to the Sweet 16 so Florida can get a little revenge and beat them by 30.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can't really decide. So I guess if they win, then I'll pull for them to play Florida. But wouldn't hurt my feelings either if McNeese sent them home early.
Yeah.
Any other game in this region that stands out to you? There is one I wanted to ask you about because we were split on this. St. Mary's and Texas A&M.
I was headed there when you asked if I had any other games to talk about. Wasn't going to let us get past without talking about that one. I really like the matchup. I'm very glad that they gave St. Mary's the 7, kind of honoring that they've done well this year. That being said, I think A&M has a real shot at pulling an upset here. I'm not super high on St. Mary's, even though they have earned what they got. I think A&M's a little bit better of a ball club.
Athletically, I don't disagree. I think 100% they are. And they can grind the pace down. A&M loves to run. They love to play fast. They play a little reckless sometimes.
Yeah.
Where St. Mary's, I feel, is a lot more disciplined. They play a lot stronger, defense. And they do, albeit at home, they do have a win over Gonzaga.
Yes. Yeah.
They also got beat by Santa Clara.
Exactly.
Who's
Santa
no
Clara's, they're a good team. We'll get to them in a minute, but yes, I do like them.
Yeah. So I'm kind of torn on this one. I do understand the argument from the standpoint if it's an SEC team, they played SEC competition all year long. They've got better athletes.
Yeah.
But this St. Mary's team is very disciplined.
Absolutely.
If they can grind the pace down, if they can make A&M play half-court ball and not get beat in transition, do you think they can knock A&M off?
Oh, absolutely. This is going to basically be a toss-up. Me picking A&M is more, I just think Bucky will have his guys playing their pace a little bit better than Bennett will have St. Mary's playing their pace. But, I mean, A&M shoots the ball fairly well from 3. They take a ton of threes. St. Mary's can run teams off of the 3-point line. They don't allow a ton of 3-point shots. They allow a very low percentage. It could be very fun to watch.
Yeah, and that was actually, I don't know if you watched the game. I'm sure you probably did because you watch everything. That game going down the stretch, that's exactly what St. Mary's was able to do. They were able to get a little bit up in the closing minutes against Gonzaga, and they just ran them off the line. They would not let them take threes down the stretch in that game, and that was the difference in them knocking them off. So, and dude, that's like a high school gym too that they play in.
Yeah.
And it was so
some
loud.
Of the games are so fun. And the environments are crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. It's kind of late for me, but fortunately it was on a weekend and I have to get up and work the next day. So I was able to watch it and it was tremendous. It was a great basketball game.
Agreed.
So anything else there in the South that stands out to you or
I'll give a shout out to Clemson and Iowa. It should be a fun game. That's the 8-9, so like they're always typically pretty fun, but should just be a really interesting game. I could see Iowa giving Florida a little bit of trouble, just the way that Iowa's been able to kind of peak and compete with the Michigans of the world and that kind of thing. But that'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't really talked about many 8-9 games because I don't know that there's a whole lot of them that are just fantastic. And I mean, for like TV viewing, I think Ohio State, TCU in the East could be a very good game because Ohio State, man, they just kind of came out of nowhere and came on the back half of the season. And then the Villanova-Utah State. Am I wrong here? But I think Utah State is far better than Villanova.
That was actually one of the misses that I had on the bracket was I had flipped Utah State and Villanova specifically. So I agree. I think Utah State is better. However, they do play in the Mountain West. The committee does not like the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And the Mountain West does not like playing in the tournament because they don't do well. So those two things being said, I'm not shocked they flipped them like they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And Villanova with the Big East pedigree and tournament history, it's I can see them getting the nod, but I don't know, and I could be totally wrong, and it really doesn't matter because Arizona's going to beat whoever is in front of them the next game anyway. But I thought that was kind of a neat matchup that they had.
Agreed.
So it's
all four of the 8-9 games should be absolutely close and basically toss-ups going into them.
Yeah. So my apologies, everyone. I just totally skipped by the 8-9s. So
they're hard to talk about because they're genuinely just going to be toss-ups. So I don't blame you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because every game really, I mean, from looking at it from like a betting perspective, those games are basically pick'ems, right?
Yep.
So you're not going to see a very big line in those. So definitely go either way.
Exactly.
All right. So that brings us to the Midwest. And I'm not crazy about, and we'll talk a little more specifically about Tennessee and Kentucky, but do a high level first.
Yeah.
Michigan gets the one in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State grabs the 2 there. Then we've got Virginia, who had a pretty good run down the stretch and in the ACC tournament. Alabama got a 4. Did you have Alabama as a 4 seed, Hunter?
Oh, did I? Without looking, give me 2 seconds. So the 4 and 5 lines were impossible for me. So I am checking. I actually had Alabama on the 3 line. No, sorry, I had them on the 4 line. I lied. Math is hard.
Math is hard.
Yes. So I had them as a 4. It was very tough to know what to do with Alabama, so I kind of just went with my eyes a little bit. Their metrics look good, so I threw them there on the 4. Sorry for being able to count incorrectly, but did have Alabama as a 4. Did not love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 68 teams and 360-something teams in total, and how many games you've probably been to, so I can't believe you couldn't remember one thing.
Fair enough.
That's because, see, I thought Arkansas going to a 4 might bump Bama down.
I did too.
To a 5, and that's why. And really, the 4-5 doesn't really matter because guess what? If they both win, they play each other.
Yeah.
So it's really not that big a deal. It's just we got to have something to nitpick and talk about, right? So,
well, I don't feel like Bama should have been ahead of Vanderbilt with the run that Vandy just had. So I do feel like they should have been flipped. So I agree there. But again, more semantics than anything, doesn't necessarily impact a ton.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that Alabama doesn't have any front court presence to speak of also is going to be a problem for them, I think, because you can't just shoot 143 threes.
I don't know. The matchups they got, they might be able to.
And we kind of talked about that and Nate Oates be damned will try to do that. If that's he thinks that he does any shot, I mean, they'll put up 60, 70 threes against somebody if they feel like that's their path to win. So, So Michigan the 1, Iowa State the 2, Virginia the 3, Bama the 4, Texas Tech the 5 seed. And that's always a fun team to talk about because we have a mutual friend that will swear to us that they're the best team in the field year in and year out. But they've struggled down the stretch. They've had some periods that they've really looked rough, and understandably so, with their best player out for the season. Exactly. I don't see them getting very far. I don't know. There's some people, again, that are enamored with these 12-5 and, 14-3 pairings that think there's going to be one, and there could be. I mean, it's always possible. But Akron and Texas Tech, is that going to be big fish in little pond, and then they go to the tournament and they're just another tadpole with Akron?
I don't think so. I mean, Akron, despite Miami of Ohio, who we'll get to later, had so many headlines. Akron was the better team from a predictive standpoint than Miami was. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad move to pick Akron over Tech. I will say picking a team like Akron to beat Texas Tech is a long shot regardless, but it's not necessarily impossible. And Akron's actually a really solid team.
Yeah, they are. That was one reason I wanted to kind of particularly call that out, because granted, yes, it's a MAC team. Granted, yes, they play in the same conference with Miami of Ohio.
Yes.
That's still a pretty good basketball team.
Absolutely.
And Texas Tech they kind of limped into this thing.
Yes.
Do you think Tech was overseeded?
That's a really tough question, kind of, but at the same time, they earned it. I mean, they still had some decent wins without Toppin. Anytime you lose an AP, like a first-team All-American type of guy, it's impossible to keep up the level of play. Look at North Carolina, look at Texas Tech. But I think they kind of deserved a 5. I'm much happier if they're on the 5 line than I would have been on the 4. But with how they bowed out this weekend, I'm not shocked about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the first game that Toppin was out, they won.
Yes.
Because everybody just thought, man, they're just going to go in the tank with Toppin gone. Yeah. But they come out and they play good basketball and win without him. So
exactly.
I just don't think that they're built for a long run without him.
Agreed. So, I think Bama would be not heavily favored, but I think Bama will beat them pretty well. They'll both try to shoot a ton of threes, and that's Bama's specialty, and Bama will do that better.
Yeah, they have better shooters, I think, than Texas Tech does. So,
especially Christian Anderson might be hurt. The stupid glass court at the Big 12 may have injured him to the point where he's not necessarily playing. He is listed as going to play, but we don't know exactly what that's going to do. So, very curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, I think you have to say he's going to play just so Bama doesn't scheme that, then he's not going to play, and then so yeah. Let's talk about that court for just a second, real quick. That was an abomination.
Yes.
It was. I don't know how it looked in person. It was horrible for television.
Yeah.
And they need to fire that thing into the sun.
Aesthetics aside, I don't necessarily care about the court. It's the fact that it wasn't safe. And from day one, practice one, there were people saying it was slipping. I had multiple Big 12 teams that I reached out to. They all said the same thing. We're slipping all over the place. Traction is a problem. Yeah. Why was it not taken up right then and there and moved, especially with the stupid court that nobody likes sitting in the closet back there ready to be deployed? Why did it take up until the final 4 teams to do that? I'll never understand. Aesthetically, they did not use it correctly. Why was it gray? It looked ugly. My wife looked up from her, she's on nights. She got up, saw the court, and was like, what the hell is that? And I was like, welcome to basketball. The Big 12's trying to innovate, and it's not working.
No. And I'm sure the inspiration came from the NBA's, in-season tournament or NBA, whatever they're calling it this year. I mean, it's cool for video games and for kids.
Yes.
For grown people and adults that watch basketball, it's terrible. So I'm 100%. I'm glad I'm not the only one, and there's been a lot of people comment about it. It's just ugly, but it's beyond just ugly. It's unsafe.
Yeah.
And to your point, shame on them for allowing any games to be played on that, because we talk about player safety and all this stuff, and it should come first. But that situation, I think they wanted to show off more than they wanted to do the right thing.
Yep.
So shame on you, Big 12. Learn and grow.
Yeah.
So Iowa State sitting at the 2, Virginia. Any concerns with either of those two teams in their half of the bracket?
Virginia's probably my better choice to come out of the field. I do not like Iowa State. They've been way too inconsistent for me. Tennessee State's probably going to compete with them for a little bit before Iowa State pulls away. But Kentucky, Santa Clara, Iowa State, those could be, any of the pairings that you could get there could be really good games. And then Virginia, I like Wright State. I'm obviously a big Horizon League guy. I watched them cut the nets down. Really cool story. I do not think they're beating Virginia this year. So I'll take Virginia probably to come out of that grouping.
Yeah. I'm kind of drinking the Iowa State Kool-Aid, Hunter, and maybe you can talk me out of it. They played Arizona really well.
Yeah.
And I know they're kind of hot and cold. They have the same, we talked about with a couple other teams. Like they can go out and just be a giant killer one night, and then they play sloppy and get beat by somebody they, are a double-digit favorite against.
Exactly.
So any chance, and I know you're going to say, of course, there's always a chance, but we're talking like realistic, if, legit. Can Iowa State run through and get to the Final Four? Can they beat Michigan on a neutral court?
If they can play like they did during the 3-game winning streak where they beat Arizona State by 21, Arizona State by 50, and then Texas Tech by 22, and then they lost to Arizona by 2. Yeah, there's a chance. They do seem to be playing well right now. However, there's also the games like Texas Tech 2 weeks ago, Arizona on the 2nd, BYU, TCU. Those are all within the last month. So it's very up and down. If they can find the consistency, if they have found that, then yes, they could beat Michigan. If not, I don't see them even making the Elite Eight.
Fair enough. Yeah. Defensively, I think they're outstanding.
Yes.
They can be inconsistent scoring. And I don't know, for me, sometimes it looks like they even kind of they sort of get disjointed. Like they're not in sync. They don't almost like they don't know what they want to do, or they're unclear on how to execute. I don't know. It's been mind-boggling sometimes because, to your point, when they went on that little win streak of Murderer's Row and come out in really good shape, you're right. It depends on which team shows up, but I think defensively they can probably give Michigan some problems.
Absolutely,
because I think Michigan's very beatable.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I think somebody gets them. I don't think they make it to the Final Four, whether that's Iowa State, whether that's Virginia. If Bama's hot, and they could even knock them out.
Yeah, there's the top
in the Sweet 16.
Could absolutely do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think of all the ones, I think they're probably the most fragile.
Agreed. I'll add on Iowa State, though. They only shoot 67% from the free throw line, which is 340th in the country.
That's a problem.
That's a major red flag. KenPom, it's obviously red on KenPom. That is a big issue for them in the tournament. There is going to be a game, whether it's the second round, third round, whatever, where they have to make free throws, and that's not a good number at all.
Yeah. Well, this Tennessee State team, not calling an upset here, but this Tennessee State team will get after you.
Yes. Yeah.
They're very athletic, and they could, if they turn it into a rock fight and put Iowa State on the free throw line quite a bit, that could be a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So the two big games, I think that the majority of the audience that you're speaking to at the moment are going to be from one of these two fan bases. So
sure.
We'll go by seeding. That way nobody accuses me of being favorite.
Fair enough.
But that happens to be Tennessee. And they are sitting on the 6th line. That nefarious 6-11 matchup. They have a play-in game. So they're only going to have a couple days to legitimately put in a game plan against one of these two teams. So we've got SMU and the one team I told you that I did not want to be matched up with in the first round because I didn't want to be that team, and that's Miami of Ohio. Why?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's Tennessee's strength?
Defense. Okay.
Interior or exterior? Like, do you play better inside or outside of the 3-point arc?
Let me caveat that. Their strengths are defense and making everybody else's guards look like Michael Jordan. Those Tennessee's strengths.
There it is. That's what I needed you to say.
Yeah. So interior, that front court can battle. I don't know if we can guard without getting in foul trouble.
I am going to tell you something that's probably not going to make very many Tennessee fans happy. Whether it's Miami of Ohio or SMU, you're going to be playing a very, very good backcourt.
SMU concerns me more from that perspective.
Miami of Ohio is
Am I
going to take a
wrong?
ton of threes,
Yeah.
and they don't play a ton of inside. It's a lot of outside. They might try to get it inside to like an Elmer or somebody, but they're going to be kicking back out. Both of these teams are going to shoot a ton of threes. Their guards are going to make you all struggle a little bit. Miami of Ohio, you could bully a little bit more interiorly just from the athleticism standpoint than you will be able to with SMU. SMU, Boopy Miller, if BJ Edwards is healthy, I would pick SMU straight up to beat Tennessee. Miami and Tennessee is probably more of a toss-up type of situation.
Yeah. SMU
I'd lean
concerns me.
Tennessee. Yeah.
SMU concerns me more. So
yeah, I cringed when I saw this matchup, knowing I had to come on here at 9 p.m. and tell you that these weren't good matchups for your Tennessee Vols.
Yeah, I know.
That being said, you all are the 6th seed. You all have earned the right to be 5 seed lines better, and what you all do very well could help you knock these teams off. If you beat them, there's a very real shot you beat Virginia.
I think we do beat Virginia.
Yeah,
I think it's a horrible matchup for Virginia.
Exactly. I agree.
It'll be a rock fight. It may not get out of the 50s, but I think it's a terrible matchup for Virginia. That's
Agreed.
what's so frustrating here is there's part of me that just says, just mail it in, let's go home, because I know we're not going to get probably past the Sweet 16 anyway. But the fan in me says, no, we fight. So
let's have some fun. I like it.
Yeah. So who wins between Miami of Ohio and SMU? Who should we expect to have to get ready for on Friday?
I would love to know if SMU's actually healthy or if they're lying to make sure they get in the field. If SMU's fully healthy, I'm probably taking SMU. If SMU is not healthy, I'm taking Miami. I do want to caveat, Miami absolutely deserves their spot in the field. There's a reason. If you're 31-1, your resume metrics look like they did, they should be in the field. I'm not mad they went to Dayton. I think that the committee did right by them by giving them the inclusion. If you're going to go undefeated in the regular season, you deserve your shot. Whether you get beat by 20 or not, fine. But you at least deserve to be there. And predicted metrics probably will line up to say that Miami should lose by 15 or 20.
Yeah, see, that's my thought in it. And I've been on the fence with should they be in the field, should they not? I mean, I argue this in football all the time, that going undefeated in the regular season should mean something.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair, whichever side of the fence you are on with Miami of Ohio, I think it's fair that they're in a play-in game.
Yes.
If you seriously belong in this tournament, then prove it.
You win. Yeah, exactly.
You beat a Power 4 team, get in. And I think that's fair.
I agree.
I think it's very fortunate that they're playing this game in Dayton.
Yeah.
Because they'll turn it into basically a home game.
Absolutely.
But again, I mean, SMU had opportunities. They're in this situation for a reason. So if you're good enough, you go out there and you beat them, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I do like the fact that they're playing in. They just didn't get handed a seed, because I think that would cause a lot more upheaval with what should have been arguably an automatic bid conference that got a couple teams in there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So Tennessee will either lose on day one or they'll
go to the Sweet 16, and I'll get to see them in Chicago. Yeah.
Go to the Sweet 16. So feast or famine. All right. So that brings us to Kentucky. And I think there's a lot of disappointment that they even landed in this region.
Yeah.
Probably would have preferred either the East. Certainly the East, I think, would have been nice with a kind of a limping Duke team. Their arch rival Louisville in the field there. And, Kentucky's one of those teams that if they can get hot and put it together, we've seen them play really good basketball.
Absolutely.
But, man, they've got a little bit of a buzzsaw here in Santa Clara, I think. Tell us about this matchup, and what do you think this looks like for the Wildcats?
So I've been high on Santa Clara all year. I did get to see them play in Cincinnati. They beat Xavier on the road in November. Santa Clara plays fast, which Kentucky will also look to do. Santa Clara is not necessarily a defensive-oriented team, so I think Kentucky's especially on the glass going to have an opportunity there to get some offensive rebounds, generate some offense. But Santa Clara does really well at getting inside the arc, getting their shots up, and making sure that they take the right shots. So I think Kentucky struggles a little bit here. I'm not ready to pick an outright upset because I haven't had enough time to think about it yet. But this is one of those that if you're asking me to knee-jerk a 7-10 upset, I might be picking Santa Clara over Kentucky. KenPom has Kentucky favored by 2.
Wow, pretty close then.
Yeah.
In Santa Clara, when you look at, talking about KenPom, because we do reference that quite a bit, defensively, they're not terrible.
Yep.
They're not great, but they're not terrible. They play a very similar style that Kentucky does, although they do it at a little faster pace, get a few more possessions per 100 than Kentucky does. But one thing that kind of stood out to me was, their non-conference schedule was actually not terrible.
Exactly.
So they played, they played some pretty decent teams, and gotten some pretty good wins.
Yeah.
So I think this might be one, and nobody's going to like this in Big Blue Nation, but this is one I'd kind of be a little concerned about.
Absolutely, and Kentucky fans are. I've interacted with a handful of them. They agree with you on that.
Yeah, there was a lot better matchups for them on that 10 line. Even Texas A&M. I think Kentucky would be favored over Texas A&M fairly handily. UCF, another one that I think they would be favored over. Missouri, that's a toss-up because of the matchup in the regular season. But I think this is the worst thing it's the worst region Kentucky could have been in, and it's probably the worst first-round matchup they could have gotten.
Absolutely. From my standpoint on the region as a whole, so I am actually going to the Sweet 16 Elite 8 in Chicago. Very excited that this is the region that's going to Chicago because it is a gauntlet. And even if it's not the 1 through 4 seeds, like there's going to be 4 good teams there. There are the opportunities for some of these other regions to have some really just ugly types of games. I mean, let's say, for instance, Miami of Ohio does win 2 games. Suddenly, Miami of Ohio is in Chicago playing as 33-1 or whatever it'd be. Like, there's going to be good storylines. There's going to be just some really good basketball here, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I was when you made that announcement, man. I was so stoked and excited for you. Nobody deserves to be credentialed to go to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, whatever than you, man. So I'm really excited for you to get that experience and opportunity. So I look forward to some great content and updates coming from you out there. The 8-9 game in this one's pretty interesting too. I saved it till last. Georgia is going to play St. Louis.
Yep. Really interesting matchup, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So St. Louis was one of those teams I really struggled with. I actually did move them down to the 9 line about 2 minutes before the bracket came out. So ended up getting that one right, thankfully. That being said, I mean, it's a toss-up at this point. You could convince me either way. And Georgia, I know I interact with a lot of Georgia fans on here. They play a super fast pace, but St. Louis will match pace with you. And St. Louis might shoot the ball better than any team in the country. I mean, their effective field goal percentage is 2nd in the nation. That's ridiculous. So or 3rd in the nation. Sorry, they're 2nd from 3-point land. So it's going to be a high scoring game. Should be fast. Should be really interesting basketball. Either of these teams could give Michigan a run for their money.
I don't disagree. I'm kind of leaning St. Louis in this one. And I know, again, we talk about, well, it's the athlete, the different level of the Atlantic 10 versus the SEC and all that stuff. I'm just not sold on Georgia.
Georgia, if they shoot so many threes and they don't make them at a high enough rate. And if you're probably looking at a shootout between St. Louis and Georgia. And St. Louis, I mean, like I said, they're the 3rd team in the country at 3-point land. Georgia is 170. So when you start talking about that kind of thing, it really gets ugly. But Georgia's athletes are ridiculous. They're one of the more athletic teams I watched Xavier play this year. So there is a chance that Georgia does come out with this just on the athleticism side.
Yeah. And that's going to be the theme of these matchups is but the power.
But we do this every single I mean, look at FDU and who put out a bunch of 6'4" guys against Zach Edey and then ended up beating them. It's not just athletes, but when you're projecting all these games, I can't pick every lower seeded team to win because it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
You got to try to find those nice matchups like the Wisconsin High Points or Tech and Akron or whatever, just to really get to the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we saw it last year, and I think it continues. There may be a couple more this year than last, but the Cinderellas, I think, are, I won't say dead, but she's on life support.
For now, yes. I'm curious to see kind of how the landscape of college basketball molds, not to go off topic here, but if college basketball doesn't have more regulations, the Cinderellas are effectively dead.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot more chalky brackets, a lot more of the Duke, Arizona, Florida, Michigan out in the Final Four. You should see a lot more of that. That being said, the regular seasons are the best they've ever been.
Oh, absolutely. And there's some, I'm a big fan of mid-major conference basketball because there's some phenomenal teams. There's some really great coaches. I mean, we see it time and time again where, the next big coach on the rise, that's where they come from, are these mid-majors.
Exactly.
And it's some really fun basketball to watch.
Yep.
If you're of the volition, it's a lot of fun to bet, which is kind of what gets me intrigued in it. But nevertheless, it's really good. So, you may see a team that can put together a plan, and their style of play is just disruptive to some of these Power Fours. So with that said, here we go. Josh he's trying to beat me to the punch here.
I almost made it without having to ask this question.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the 14s, you've got North Dakota State, Kennesaw State, Penn, and Wright State. Wright State could grind out a game with Virginia, TJ Birch, Michael Cooper. Those guys get hot. Maybe you see something fun from Virginia, but also I really like Virginia, so that's hard. I don't see Gonzaga losing to Kennesaw. I don't see Michigan State losing to North Dakota State. I don't see Penn beating Illinois. 15s, Idaho, Tennessee State, Queens, Furman. I think Tennessee State's the most likely culprit, but I don't think it's any more than like a 2% chance. Tennessee State's the better of the 15s there, but they're not necessarily going to win over Iowa State, Houston, UConn, or Purdue or anything like that.
Yeah. So what you're saying is
no,
there's a chance that Queens could knock off Purdue. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Let's go with it. Let's have fun. Queens never been to the tournament before. Let's get crazy.
Oh man. All this wishful thinking on my part. So, anyway, all right. So we've kind of dissected each bracket. We've talked about the seeding, where we thought that some of these matchups might turn into down the road. But let's get down to the nitty gritty here. So, Elite Eight, Final Four championships. What do you think is going to happen?
Elite Eight, I'll start in the East. Duke. I'm going to go Duke, UConn, and then I'm going to have UConn coming out of there. So I'll take UConn to the Final Four. Out West, I'll take Arizona, and then I'll go with Purdue. I'm not happy with that pick, but I'll take Arizona to the Final Four there. In the is it South? Yeah, South. Florida, Houston. I don't even know. Part of me wants to take Houston all the way out, but Florida just at their peak is too good. So I'll take Florida. I do think that Illinois and Houston could be a really interesting matchup. Now, in the Midwest, let's go with – I'm going to take Alabama to the Elite Eight, and then I'll take Virginia to the Final Four. As I just said, Wright State could get hot and beat Virginia. So, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
So that gives me a Final Four of what? UConn, Arizona, Florida, and Virginia.
So Virginia over Michigan?
Over Alabama.
Or excuse me, Alabama.
Yep.
I kind of like Bama if they get by Texas Tech. I kind of like Bama against Michigan.
I agree.
I will admit. Why does Alabama and Florida have to be good in basketball this year? And Peabody. Like, those are public enemies 1, 2, and 3.
Wait, so public enemy number 1 isn't Kentucky anymore? As somebody who is relatively removed from the rivalry, this is interesting for me, so that's why I'm asking.
Well, here's the thing. when you exit the first round so many times against 13 and 14 and even 15 seeds, and we're 1-0 against Kentucky in the NCAA tournament, so we've never lost to Kentucky when it matters. They've beaten us, swept us back-to-back seasons, but I mean, it is still a big rivalry. But Florida's number one, no matter what.
Fair enough.
Alabama football, Kentucky basketball, those are Tennessee's most hatred. But for me, Florida trumps them all. I can't stand them.
It's interesting.
And Bama they're like new money. Like they just got good at basketball in the last few years with Nate Oates. That every Alabama basketball fan's a bandwagon fan as far as I'm concerned because they didn't even know they played basketball until Nate Oates showed up. So that's my thing there. And Peabody's just always little brother. And little brother's going to win a fight every now and again. When you catch up to us and beat us consistently, then we can talk about it being a rivalry. But until then, just enjoy your win and go get your ass beat in the tournament. Leave us alone. So you've got UConn over Duke. You've got Arizona over Purdue. You've got Florida over Houston. And you've got Virginia over Alabama. Yeah. Which is fantastic that you have Virginia there and beating Alabama. So I can live with that. I've said it for the last several weeks. I think Tennessee's ceiling is the Sweet 16. If the basketball gods see it fit and we get to play Kentucky in the Sweet 16, then I think we're an Elite 8 team.
Fair.
We've had 2 double-digit leads against Kentucky, and we
blew both of them.
Blew them both.
Yeah.
So
you all got this. Can't do it 3 times in a row, right?
Can't do it. They can't do it 3 times. They did it last year. We stopped them. They beat us twice this year. We'll stop them again, if that's even on the table. But I
mean, it's possible for sure. It's possible.
I definitely think it is. I mean, I think Virginia's not. They're not that strong front line defense and everything that we got shoved down our throats a few years ago. They're not that team.
Agreed.
And you're right. I mean, Iowa State has an off night, and Kentucky or Santa Clara, either one can give them a problem with their shooting. So it's not unheard of. So with that group, UConn, Arizona, Florida, Virginia, who's going to play and cut down the nets?
I'll go Florida, Arizona for the championship. And give me Florida to cut the nets down. Let's go back to back. Their guards when they're on, combined with the front court, it's just too good.
A few weeks ago when I had you on, I said I'll give you $1,000. You can bet anybody in the field. Who would you bet? Who did you tell me?
I think I told you Florida.
Florida. We both said Florida then. I also have an Arizona-Florida national championship game.
Nice.
That was what I called out on the Heavy Force Sports podcast earlier. I'm going to stick with that. And I'm with you, man. I hate it, but I'm with you. I think Florida does it again. That front court's just too good. And I think
exactly.
I almost think the loss against Vanderbilt was a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it clearly, we said it, and clearly it played out that way. The SEC championship didn't matter.
Yeah.
Didn't affect their seeding whatsoever. And I think they've probably got one of the – outside of Houston and Illinois, obviously, but I think they've got one of the easier paths to get there. Yeah. And somebody could knock one of those two out. I mean or excuse me, somebody's going to knock one of them out. Houston or Illinois, they're going to knock each other out.
Yep.
Who knows? North Carolina get hot. Texas A&M upset St. Mary's, and they out athletic Houston.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible for sure.
Yeah. So I guess I'll do my rundown because I asked you to do it. It's not fair if I don't. I've got Duke making it to the Elite Eight, and I've got Michigan State beating them. and I've got Michigan State going to the Final Four. I'm going to write these down as I go on our show so we can refer to them and you can laugh at me when this is all over with. I don't have any of them. And then obviously, I've got Arizona in the national championship. So I've got Arizona there. I just don't know. I wish Arkansas was in the bottom half of that bracket and they could play in an Elite Eight matchup.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas and it's not my birthday, so I'm going to have to pick somebody else. And I'm with you, man. I don't like it, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's a chalky 1-2. I think Arizona will beat Purdue.
Yeah.
In the West, let's go Midwest because that's just the seed.
Yeah.
Man. I've got Alabama beating Michigan, and I've got Iowa State going. I just don't think there's anybody in that bottom half. I'm not a big believer in Virginia. Tennessee, Iowa State will be a fun matchup, but I don't know that they make it either. If they do, great. I still think Iowa State comes out of there. So I'm going to go Iowa State over Bama.
Ooh, okay.
In the Midwest, I'm probably going to look back on this and go, what the hell were you thinking? And then clearly I think Florida, I just said it, I think they're going to repeat. And my pick here was Illinois.
Yeah.
But Houston scares me for a lot of the reasons that we talked about and guard play. I keep going back to it, but it's so true. Guard play in this tournament is massive, and Kelvin Sampson tournament time is just a different animal.
Exactly.
He can turn up the intensity and just look at you. So I may retract that, but right now I'm going Illinois. But it doesn't matter. Florida's going to beat either one of them. So,
exactly. Yeah.
And then, of course, Florida over Iowa State, Arizona over Michigan State, and Florida to cut down the nets. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are not my official picks, as I'm sure they're not yours. Like you said, you'll dive in, but at least that's my initial reaction on kind of where I think things will fall. Again, it's chalky, but that's the portal and NIL era. You're getting the best teams kind of rising, but also the bottom teams are getting better too.
Yeah, because just like the Power Four are gobbling up those superstar players at the mid majors, I guess the bigger mid majors are gobbling up those superstar players from the lower tier mid majors. So it's it's kind of like a farm system. It just keeps feeding the beast in front of them. So, all right. So one more thing, and then I'll let you go because we went a little over what I promised. But
you're good.
If there's one 10 seed or higher, I know we'll make it even better. We'll make it even better. If there's outside the top 6 seed, so 7 through, well, nobody's going to make it as 15 or 16, but 7 seed or higher, who do you think goes the deepest in this tournament?
7 seed or higher.
Yep. Because I think there's some 6 seeds that could get the right matchup and could pull off some wins. So I think I'm going to take them out of it.
I'd agree.
7 seed or higher, who can make a run?
If I'm gonna pick a 7, it's probably gonna be UCLA.
Same.
I really like what they've done. They're just a good team. If I'm gonna pick somebody a little bit lower, High Point was one of the teams I was kind of high on, but I don't like the matchup they have with Wisconsin. So that's a struggle for me. I think South Florida could surprise some teams. And then I do think Akron, though they got terrible matchups, could surprise some teams. They're actually a solid squad.
Yeah. The 2 I jotted down were exactly what you just said, UCLA and South Florida. I almost feel like South Florida is maybe a little underseeded just based on how they finished the season, how they finished their tournament, and look just really strong down the stretch. Exactly. The problem is they run into Michigan State, and I think that's going to give them some problems.
All sorts of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they'd have been, not that UConn would have been any better at a 10, but I think UConn might be a little more gettable than Michigan State. I just think Tom Izzo as a tournament coach, you can never count him out.
Fair enough. Yeah.
He's just good. He's been there, done that for so long and been so good. And, guard play again, just phenomenal. So,
yep.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think UCLA. I had them. I thought they could make a run in the Big Ten, and just couldn't get past the beast that is Purdue. So we'll see. It's going to be fun. It's always the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to a lot of basketball over the course of the next couple weeks. We got 22 days from when it starts to when it finishes.
Yep.
We both
better
agree
enjoy it while we can.
That's right. Because it'll feel like forever before we get back to this point.
Yep.
And with Tennessee's football projection this year, it won't get here soon enough. So
it's fair enough.
So we're both on Florida, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think I could pick anything other than Florida. I was trying to because I had a feeling you were headed that way too, so I wanted to do something different. But it just feels like Florida. I mean, Arizona's a great pick, and I mean, if you're looking for a sleeper, I think UConn. Maybe, I mean, Gonzaga shocks the world. Maybe Virginia shocks the world. I don't know, but I feel like it's going to come from one of those top seeds this year. And Joshy boy, just going to throw this out there. I am not a betting guru. We'll leave that to the betting gurus, but Wisconsin and High Point's got to be the over of the century at this point. So expect that to go over.
Yeah. There's like we talked about, and I may not have said it on this other game. The Wisconsin High Point game, that's an automatic over.
Yeah.
Which Josh and I'll get into the weeds a little deeper with that. If anybody wants to join us on that, that'll be Tuesday. And then I think there was the other game that I was going to. That's an absolute slam dunk over.
South Florida Louisville, maybe.
If Brown plays, yeah.
Assuming health, yeah.
Yeah. There was another one. Shoot. That's what I hate when I don't write stuff down. That was definitely the big one.
Yeah.
Was Wisconsin High Point in a lot of high scoring game. It was St. Louis.
Oh, in Georgia, yeah.
St. Louis and Georgia. That'll be a dead over too because neither one played particularly very good defense. They haven't seen a shot they didn't like.
Exactly.
So fantastic, man. Great job as always. Congrats. I mean, Joshy boy's not wrong when because you've got a team that's won a back-to-back, and you've got a team or a coach that knows how to win in the tournament. And, who knows what kind of antics that he's going to get into. He's known to kind of intimidate, bully officials a little bit from time to time. So, who knows? I think if he and Mick Cronin play, which we expect that they will, if they do, that is get your popcorn ready because there's going to be a show.
Yep.
But yeah, that's 25-1. That's a great odd.
Yeah, it is.
Great odd for a team that legitimately up until probably last week, Hunter, we were wondering if it was going to get a 1 seed. So
yeah. Up until they lost to Marquette, they pretty much had a 1 seed. I won't say locked up, but they were in the driver's seat for it for sure.
Oh, for sure, it was theirs to lose. I feel, and that Marquette, Marquette loss was bad.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Hunter, where can we find you on your socials, webpage, whatever that looks like?
Yeah, so at Bracket NKY is all of my socials. So most active on Twitter. I've got another guy working with me now. He's going to be taking over some Instagram stuff. So more stuff on that from a graphic standpoint. Maybe expanding into TikTok a little bit if you're on there. It's at Bracket NKY. But then SansomSportsMedia.com has all of this. I also have merch. It's on the store as well. Greatly appreciate any support you guys give. And we'll go from there.
It sounds great. So, again, I led the show off with it. I'm going to close the show with it. If you are not following Hunter, I don't know what you're doing. He's absolutely one of, and personally for me, the best at bracketology and seeding predictions. He's just fantastic work that he puts out. So please make sure you follow him. He's definitely going to be somebody you want to follow during this tournament time. And, just a great guy, right? So, there's
Appreciate
that
it.
too.
Yeah.
So, but man, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on, taking your time. It's been a whirlwind of a couple weeks and probably the past couple days. I appreciate what you do with the content you put out, the information, the commitment to your craft is fantastic and needs to be celebrated. So great job as always. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here. And we look forward to seeing some really fun basketball over the next few weeks.
Best month of the year. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody. Take care. And we'll see you.